Story time on my WD. My grandpa had this tractor. He acquired it. He used to do a lot of horse trading on stuff. And he had something that a guy wanted. And he wanted a tractor. He had an old Empire tractor, which I wish I had known he was selling it because I would have bought it. But he had an old Empire tractor that we used on the farm, but it wasn't as easy to use or user-friendly, I should say, as the Allis would have been. So he kept the Empire tractor, but he traded some stuff with the guy to get this old Allis Chalmers. And we used it on the farm a lot. Brush hogging mainly, but we used it quite a bit. Like I said, this thing's been in the family for probably a good 45 years. I was a kid when he bought it, or when he traded for it. I was little, but I can remember climbing on it when I was a little kid. And as I got older, I brush hogged the pasture with it. And one day I was out brush hogging, and the motor just bogged down and just locked up. Wouldn't do nothing. You hit the starter and the starter just, boom, that was it. It would not turn over. So I walked back to the farmhouse and told Grandpa that the tractor died. And so we went out there back to the hay field or the pasture. And we got lunch before we went back out to the pasture. And so we go back out there and he said, well, try it and let's see what happens. Well, the silly thing fired right up. He goes, well, what happened? I said, I don't know. It just died on me. He goes, well, run it a little bit. So I started brush hogging again. He stood out there and watched. And I made maybe half a round in the pasture. And she bogged down and died again. Locked up tighter than all get out. So he goes, that's not good. So we let it cool off. And we fired it up, and we drove it to the house and put it in the garage and started checking it out. He pulled the oil pan off of it and come to find out it had spun. I think it was number 1 rod bearing. It spun. And so as a kid, I'm thinking I was probably 10, 12. All this went down. I actually helped my grandpa do an in-the-tractor rebuild. Went through and put new bearings and all that good stuff in it. If I remember right, I think we pulled the pistons, honed it out, put new rings in it, had the head worked on, checked out. Like I said, we did an in-the-tractor rebuild on it. Kind of cleaned up the crankshaft where it scarred it a little bit where the bearing spun, and put it back together. And that's been probably 30 years ago anyway. And then life happens. I get older and don't mess with things out at the farm too much anymore. Well, then the tractor just sits. Grandpa passes away. The tractor just sits. And it's out in the open. Never been covered the whole time he had it. And the exhaust manifold had gotten some cracks in it. And water had gotten down in the engine. And she was locked up again. And my stepdad, he drug it in the shop, and he worked and worked and worked. Probably took him, a couple weeks or so, but he finally got it broke free. And he started slowly but surely doing some stuff to it and getting it back up and running. And then Grandma decided she was going to start selling some of the stuff off, and I bought the tractor from her. So it's been in my possession now, for probably I want to say close to 20 years. And I've kept her running, and the last 3 years, I've kind of neglected it. So it's time to get it out, get things right on it, and get her up and going good. So that's where we are now. I need to get some new tires for the back. I've got this one here is a new one from a couple years ago. It probably wouldn't hurt to replace this one. I'm not too sure, this may be the original tire from when it was new, because I know the Allis Chalmers had the diamonds on the tires when they were from the factory, so that may be an original 53 year Goodyear tractor tire. I'm not sure. But it definitely needs some new tires on it. And I've noticed, let's see here, it's kind of hard to see on this one, but where the rails are welded to the rim, of course the rim's all rotted out here. On the inside especially, you can see where the welds are starting to crack and break on the rails. So it's going to be time to either, here's a good one, you see here it's all cracked and breaking. So it's not something you'd want to be on a hillside very much with, because I know the inside of these are really breaking out bad. There's a good one there. You can see it. It's really cracking out. So's that one in front of it. So anyway, I either need to get new rims or see if I can't rework these. Rims for these things are not cheap. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm just going to have to do a little bit at a time on it. Let's see here. I can't really think of much else. Just slowly but surely been trying to get it back to a good running tractor. So maybe one of these days I'll throw some new paint on it again. But we'll just have to see how things traverse along. So anyway, that's the story on my old Allis Chalmers WD. Thanks.